in 2025, we are not supposed to be wasting the lives, especially of young men and women, over something that we are supposed to have a solution, over an election where people are not supposed to be killed. This is not the whole definition of democracy, where elections are the will of the people, reflect the wishes and aspirations of the common man and woman. It's unfortunate that with the way we toy with human life in this country, the way we show disregard and disdain to human beings, and the worthlessness in the lives of Cameroonians, it is very unfortunate. So I feel sad. I feel saddened by the loss of lives, destruction of property, and the time that we are wasting, whereas we're supposed to be building a nation, not only for today, but for future Cameroonians.
We saw you with Issa Shirma Bakari prior to the election, and you actually endorsed him as you saw him as the candidate for the people and a candidate that can bring the change that Cameroon needs. But on Monday, yesterday, the Constitutional Council declared something different from what many Cameroonians expected, including certainly yourself and Issa Shirma Bakari. How do you feel that he is not the winner of the October 12th election?
Well, maybe let me just take you a little bit back. Well, yes, I endorsed Issa Shirma. It was a process. I'd met Issa Shirma twice before endorsing him. I met him twice. Then I traveled. I sent him a letter in which I articulated, it was more of a private letter, certain things that if he assures me that he could do it for my people in this sense is the people of the Southwest and Northwest region, if he could do these things to them, I would endorse him and I would join him on the campaign trail. And I informed him that I'd never endorsed anybody. And I made sure, and I said clearly in my letter to him, that this is not about my personal gain. It's about the people that I feel that I represent. To me, he was the people's choice. He was the candidate of the coalition. And when I talk about a coalition, I'm not talking necessarily about a coalition of political parties. In an interview that I'd given somewhere, I'd said that when the political leaders, if they fail to come together, the people and the civil society should come together and decide and determine their candidate. And that is what happened. So he was a coalition candidate of the people of Cameroon. And that's something which is important. So we did the campaign respecting the laws to the best of our abilities. And from the information that we got, Mr. Chiruma is supposed to have won the elections. And what was logical was that the Constitutional Council would respect Elecam first, and subsequently the Constitutional Council would respect the wishes and aspirations of the people who voted for Mr. Chiruma. Unfortunately, yesterday, the Constitutional Council, which is a body that was created by Mr. Biya, handpicked members of the council tailor-made to satisfy his whims and caprices, to play to his biddings, did the obvious in the eyes of those who appointed him as the winner of the election. It's unfortunate because it was a sad day, a bitter day for this country, for the progress that the gains that we have made as a country in terms of democracy and openness. We took steps behind because of the fact that the wishes of the people wasn't respected by Elecam and the Constitutional Council.
Looking at the results in these regions that favored President Paul Biya, more than 80% in the Northwest, more than 60% in the Southwest. How do you feel seeing that? Because we've seen a lot of condemnations from people from these regions.
Maybe it was a farce. It's the biggest scam that has happened in this century. In the history of electioneering, racketeering, and theft, this would go down as the biggest in the history of humankind. If you were to equate these to the gravity of crimes, this would morph to a level of electoral genocide. That is the level. You know, it is a crime against a people with an intent to show to the world that people who for the last 8 years have been displaced from their homes, have been arbitrarily arrested and detained. Some have been maimed. Their villages have been burned. They have not been able to go to school. Their brothers and sisters are refugees. They would vote for the perpetrator of these heinous crimes against their people. This is the worst crime that I have seen in this country for a long time. It is embarrassing. It is disgusting. And I will tell you that the people who are part of this widespread and systematic election theft, they have lost any respect I have for them in my eyes. Whether you call them honorable, whether you call them chiefs, whether you call them senators, they are as midgetal in my eyes like anything. They don't need any respect in the eyes of anybody. You cannot tell me, it is unfathomable that you will tell me that in the Southwest and the Northwest, Mr. Bia had the scores he had. In places where the elections could not be rigged, in Fako, for example, he was clearly defeated. You know, they came up with imaginary votes. Ministers, these are people who teach their kids that stealing, lies telling, fraud should be punishable. And they use that as a badge of honor. They are using that for them to maintain their position in government. They are dishonorable persons in my eyes. And I think in the eyes of every sane and reasonable person from the Southwest and Northwest, no, none of them. And I don't want to use very hard language like Bibi would say, I will spit on their graves, you know. But what they have done to the people of this region, it's so embarrassing. It's so shameful. And they have the audacity to do after parties, to celebrate. What are you celebrating? You're celebrating theft? You are celebrating scamming of people? I mean, you should be hiding your head somewhere. I don't want to say their champagne party would end. Their champagne party is ended. It goes beyond the last kicks of a dying horse. It clearly showed that the people had risen up, just like how they rose up in 2016 and 2017 to say enough is enough. The people had risen up against those who have held them captive for all these years, for those who think only about themselves, for those whose priority is about themselves and the children, at the expense of
So you are saying that the results that we saw from the Northwest and the Southwest did not exist and they are false.
No. These are just cooked up results. These are just cooked up results, and they know. Unfortunately for them, the people they are trying to please, their brothers in the party who are from East Cameroon, they know that these results were cooked up. So whoever thinks that this result would be used to reappoint him or her, their comrades know that these results were faulty. These results were cooked up.
Barrister, in 2018, you are one of those who represented Maurice Kamto and the MRSA at the Constitutional Council during the post-electoral litigation, and you made a strong case for the annulment of the elections based on what happened in the Anglophone zones, Northwest and Southwest regions.
Yeah.
In 2025, you endorsed Chiruma's candidacy, despite the fact that the Constitutional Council kicked out or ignored all the petitions, all the reasoned and intelligent arguments that you made in 2018. Did you have any hope in 2025 that the system was going to read the results from the ballot box as you saw them?
No, I didn't. To be honest, I didn't have any hope. I think I initially said, because you could tell, you know, Elecam and the Constitutional Council was created, tailor-made to ensure that Mr. Bia perpetuates himself in power. It gives it a cloak of legality. because they can argue that this is the highest court in the land that has confirmed what Electoral has confirmed the victory of Mr. Biya, and you cannot appeal beyond the Constitutional Council. So we have a problem in this country because institutions are used as a tool, or the law is used as a mechanism to violate rights, to trample on the will of the people. If you look at the definition of terrorism, the anti-terrorism law, it's just a transposition of the AIJO's law that he used, and that has been transformed to a modern anti-terrorism law. So it's always used, unfortunately, it's always used against the people. But there was something in the spirit that says never die, never give up that. Because unlike in 2018, this was overwhelming that the gentlemen at Elecam and the Constitutional Council would at least, for one, say, you know what, this is the time to say goodbye to the regime in place, and let's allow the will of the people. Because it was clear, I'm telling you, even to some of the members of the ruling party, who I know some of them had called to congratulate us, they knew they were defeated. In private conversations, they accepted the fact that they had been defeated. Everybody who had eyes, the blinds literally saw that they were defeated. There was joy and euphoria everywhere. Because it wasn't about Issa Chiruma. It was about every Cameroonian. It was about the potholes. It was about driving from Douala to Boya. That was enough to anti-campaign the ruling party. It was about the garbage. It was about everything that created an enabling environment for them to be defeated. It wasn't anybody. They themselves created the enabling environment for them to be defeated. Unfortunately,
you've set the pace on the argument that the elections lack credibility, therefore the outcome is not legitimate. And on the legal front, we have already hit the summit of all appeals of all of the legal procedure, which is the Constitutional Council. It doesn't have any appeal after that. And on Issa Chiruma called on Cameroonians to get out on the streets and celebrate the victory on Sunday, which was done across the country. And yesterday, we still saw mobilizations across the streets. At this point, is sovereignty coming back to the people? Are the people trying to get back their sovereignty to gain legitimacy? Or are the people going to continue in the line of legality, void of legitimacy?
It's a kind of a catch-22. It's a very dicey kind of situation between people's power that gives them the legitimacy to do what they are doing, and also look at sovereignty from another aspect. When you look at legality, on that the Constitutional Council has acknowledged the fact that Mr. Biya has won. While the streets, we the people, as the Constitution says, they say no, we won. How do we get a kind of a win-win situation? That is to me, that is a question. A win-win situation where Cameroon comes out as the victor in such a situation. How do we understand that people have a right to protest? It's a fundamental right to protest, fundamental freedom them to protest. Their right to protest and assembly, but at the same time that the state owes them a duty to protect them and not to use excessive force in quarrying down the protest, whilst equally also ensuring that the protest doesn't go overboard to destroy public and private property. That is the thin line that one has to navigate. If we were dealing in a real proper world or country where democracy thrives, they would be listening to the people on the streets. They'll be asking questions. Why did we win, but the streets are ungovernable? There is a serious problem. They would be talking. They would be trying to find a solution. not the kind of arrogance that we have seen either in their celebration or coming out from the mouth of certain ministers, which incite the population.